Maverick and the Machine is sponsored by Jones Plantation Film. If you haven't seen the indie, soon-to-be cult classic Jones Plantation Film yet, go watch that film. It's available now at jonesplantationfilm.com. That's jonesplantationfilm.com, and on a bunch of the other big platforms.
Bo Jones!
Now, let's launch this episode of Maverick in the Machine.
Insanity is what I call society. Don't tell me what to do, don't tell me how to be. I don't trust the government, I know they lie to me. They could like my body, yo, for my soul and mind to free.
All right, guys. I got a banger today, man. I'm really excited about this episode. We've got the Maverick, Jason Christoff, in the house, and I'll let him intro himself. Probably a lot of you already know who he is, but Jason's, would you say, an expert in mind control, psyops, brainwashing, social engineering, this types of stuff?
I would say, Drew, I'm more of an expert storyteller because that's how I got invited to speak. And I mean, I just finished a 2-year round of about 5 world parliaments. So there are people more qualified than me on mind control and propaganda and psychological manipulation. But my sort of expertise is making the average person understand these, they can be complex issues, and I can make them sort of easy to understand. And not only do I make them easy to understand, when I go speak at these parliaments, I mean, I have done 500 interviews so far in my life, probably about 200, and half of them have been on this subject. But basically, when I go to the European Parliament, that's where I went first. And then I went to the Romanian Palace of the Parliament. I went to the U.S. Senate. That was a great one, to speak at the U.S. Senate. And I also spoke at the Japanese Parliament. But when I'm there, I'm only given like 10 or 5 or 15 minutes to speak. So it's about getting the point across and making sure it's razor sharp, so it penetrates whoever happens to be listening or is brave enough to come listen. Because when we go to these venues, of course, most of the career politicians are diving into the trash compactors trying to avoid our information.
So what's the goal there when you talk to those people? Just see if you can find somebody in there that can do something?
Yeah, every time we've gone, we've been invited by a Maverick group to speak, and it's all about trying to get traction with other, with the media, which are bought and paid for, or the politicians, which most, they have the racing suits like the Indianapolis 500. They're all sponsored by Big Pharma and other companies that don't have our best interests at heart. But it's a game of numbers, right? You just go out and pound the pavement, tell your story. I mean, the story, whether it's your brilliant film, I almost said documentary. It could, it's a great film. But basically, you just keep telling the story until more people awaken. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, well, really, this stuff fascinates me, the psyops and the brainwashing and the things that they do. And it's not just in media and television. They do it with architecture and the food and the poisons and all that stuff. We can get into all that. But that is really what Jones Plantation is about. It's an allegory and a satire of the control system we currently live in through the lens of a antebellum slave plantation. And they basically just come in and they say, oh, you're all free now. And they turn the plantation from chains and whips to psychological manipulation and brainwashing and convince the people that they're free. So this stuff, and the film that we've got coming out, and I think I've emailed this to you, Barnum World, which is, we're going to screen 35 minutes of it in Acapulco in February. Your work had a big influence on it, literally, because it's a mockumentary.
Good.
And yeah, and the character is this guy, this crazy film producer from Hollywood, and he's doing like a tell-all, and they're like, well, why are you giving your secrets away? And he's like, nobody's going to listen to me or do anything about it anyway. He's basically, the people are just so gone and brainwashed, it doesn't even matter what I say. But a lot of the dialogue in there is stuff that I picked up partially from a lot of your talks and stuff, because like you said, you're very beguiling the way you talk. I don't know if that's part of, like, since you studied, like, using it, mind control, to your benefit to get good information out to the people, like human flourishing. Because when you talk, I could listen to you all day.
Well, I appreciate that. I did go to one of these schools where there was a lot of weird activity. And out of this school, it was a private school in St. John's, Newfoundland. And it had a lot of the markers of where there was a lot of characteristics in the school that would lead me to believe it was sort of a grooming facility. Because not only do we have a lot of grooming activities going on, when I look back in hindsight, some of the world leaders in Canada came out of that school, and they're, heavily broken individuals. So we used to have speaking competitions between ourselves, where there'd be a big hoopla and regalia around these competitions. So we were always really, our feet were put to the fire to become the best public speakers we could be. I was at the bottom of the pile, but somehow I just kept practicing and practicing, got a little better at that.
So that's where you're from? That was your high school? Like, where are you from? We were born and raised.
I was born in Truro, Nova Scotia, Canada. It's a small province, very small town. But I quickly moved after my birth to St. John's, Newfoundland, which is it's a rough area of the world. A lot of alcoholism, good people, good wholesome people, but regardless of their original souls, when you mix in religion and alcohol, things can get pretty fiery, and they certainly did in that province of Newfoundland.
Were your parents together? Like, what was home life like?
My parents they're still together. They've always been together, but they had the mind control programming. My mother listens to every interview, has watched every presentation I've ever done, and she can laugh now, but basically myself and my siblings were under the control of people that had been brainwashed by the system. So me and my brother, we got the circumcision, got sent to the indoctrination camps at the school, watched TV, ate a lot of junk food. And all these are documented modalities of mind control. And for me and my siblings, we all had a hard time breaking out of that indoctrination. And we're still digging out of it today. So our childhood was much like everybody else's, pretty tough, pretty lonely. We're scared all the time. And I still work on that to this very day, because it was a very fearful upbringing. But I tell people, I'm sure you've had it worse. Whoever's listening today, at least half the people had it worse. It's just the way the system operates. It terrorizes the children.
So when you say you're terrorized, was it like a financial thing or just in general?
There was always financial fear. There were fear of aggressiveness in the schools. I was a very slight boy. I wasn't very big. And there was a lot of aggressiveness pick a side, sort of the sports ball spectrum. We were in one Catholic school that had sort of blue colors, and there was a more poor Catholic school next to us called St. Patrick's. They had a green color. So given the sports programming and the animosity between the colors, this is one of the mind control programs, is pick a side, pick a team, pick a color, dig in, be violent. There was a lot of violence between those two schools. So I would get beat up like every week, and you just felt completely defenseless. And I was always looking for safety, looking for the bigger herd, trying to fit in to find safety. And that ended up with me pursuing alcohol to make friends and drugs to make friends. And I just became your typical empty and soulless North American meatbag, trying to get to the top of the corrupt ruling pyramid where I could find some safety. But I managed to figure out most of that on a very painful journey where I hit rock bottom. And I didn't rebound off rock bottom. I crawled upon rock bottom on a bed of broken glass for about a decade before I decided I had enough of being my worst self. And then I started to be better. And it just incrementally, I vectored myself up into a much better existence at this point.
Yeah, I don't want to make this show about me at all, but there's a lot of similarities in what you're saying. I'm from Pittsburgh, born and raised. And to say that alcohol is celebrated is like an understatement. I mean, I got drunk for the first time when I was 6. I started regularly using alcohol. I don't know about you, when I was about 12.
Wow.
And I still fall off. I'm fighting it. Man, maybe you can help me with this, but I know what it is. I see it for what it is. It's just, it's so sticky. It's such a sticky addiction. And I don't know, you said, did you dabble with other kind of drugs too?
Yeah. When I was a little older, what happened is that we probably all had the same programming, even people listening. To one degree or another, we all have the same programming. But I was a very successful businessman at a very young age. And when you combine wealth and the typical mind control programming that resonates in our society, that's very dangerous. So I just sort of found bigger guns and loaded bigger bullets into those guns to blow my own head off, which is there is a self-destructive aspect to the mind control that revolves in our society today. So I found cocaine, and I was into the cocaine for probably about 5 or 6 years early on in my, from the mid-20s to my late 20s. And it was just part of the cycle. I was just doing what I was programmed to do. You watch Scarface, you think you're wealthy, let's get some cocaine. And basically, we're working as designed if we're going out and doing this stuff. Cristal champagne, limousines, fast cars, fast motorcycles, because those are called triggers. I mean, if you're given money and you have all this programming about getting the money coming in just triggers that programming. So there's dormant programming, there's, sort of current programming. And my dormant programming about wealth was triggered by my inflow of wealth. So I just basically did as I was programmed. And it wasn't to make my life better. I was just literally destroying myself so that I could stay with the smaller group. A lot of mind control is about group dynamics, where the bigger group is. And the wealthy group, I've only found that out later, but the wealthy group, although it's logical, is a small group. So our nervous system, outside our conscious awareness, Drew, is afraid of small groups. So when the wealth came in and I found myself sort of in a herd of one at a young age in a small town with, making $30,000 a month or something like this, I was in a small group. So what I tried to do subconsciously is destroy my wealth without consciously being aware of it, so that I could scurry back down and find safety and security inside the bigger tribe, which was down at like the 5,000 or 6,000 a month level.
And when you stopped with your cocaine, did you find that really what was left was the alcoholism? Or would you just quit everything at that point? Like, when did you stop doing all that stuff, and how long did it take you?
Cocaine took me, and I didn't have any programming resources. So it was all a matter of sort of repeating the mantra in my head, sort of programming myself that way. So cocaine, I quit one day, cold turkey, never went back, because I just knew any extra narcotics of that caliber, I'd probably die of a heart attack. So that was easy, or easy enough. But alcohol took me about 2.5 years to quit. So it was a sliding scale. I used to have, say, 10 to 15 martinis a night when I used to go out and drink. And I might go out 3 nights a week or 2 nights a week and drink that. And then I'd go down to maybe 8 martinis, 6 martinis. Instead of 3 times a month, maybe I go down to once a month. Then I go down to once every 2 months. So that sliding scale downward is sort of the easiest way to go. And then there was a point 2.5 years into that decreasing slide, I managed to go to 0 alcohol. And then I went 9 years without even one drink or even the sip of a drink of another person who would offer me, because you get that all the time. You got to try this wine. It's the best wine in the Napa Valley. And I'm like, no, thanks. And then one of my friends passed away who owned a bar in Santorini, and his wife said, his name was Steve, come and celebrate Steve tonight back at the bar. He wanted you to come and everybody celebrate like we used to when we were younger. And I said, well, I guess tonight's the night. I'm going to break the 9-year run because it's a friend I really loved. And after that, I probably did another 4 years of not drinking. And then basically I just don't drink now. But if someone like my girlfriend says this is the best wine I've ever had, I will take a sip. But
Okay.
I will not have a glass.
Huh. So there was a sliding scale. And then are you at this point now, like you can't even pour liquor in me if I don't want to drink kind of thing? Like,
oh, I don't drink. For me, even myself, there's other things I was involved in. I didn't drink coffee until the age of 44. And then coffee has a very particular effect on the brain and the metabolism in regards to mind control. And I've talked about this a lot on different podcasts, but I only got involved with coffee from like 44 to about 47. And I would only drink it when we were in Santorini during the summer. And then I had all these bleeding disorders, bleeding from the stomach, bleeding from the anus, bleeding from the nose. And I'm like, what's up with this bleeding stuff? And then I started researching what caffeine does. And not everybody bleeds in this way, but caffeine is very dangerous. So I've had to wean myself off that. I'm 55 right now, and I might have, say, 10 espressos a year or something in that range. But alcohol is 0. Coffee is like maybe 1 a month or maybe 1 every 2 months, or a caffeine equivalent. I used to do steroids. That one's done. But again, if in our society, with the group dynamics, if you don't participate in some sort of self-abusive habit, your nervous system will fire up and let you know neurologically that you're in danger. So this is why when you go into a Christmas party and everybody's drinking and it's really relaxed, and your subconscious actually looks over the whole environment at a rate of about 11 million pieces of data per second it can process. So it sees that everybody easily is carrying in their hand a glass of wine or a drink. And then when someone asks you, would you like to have a drink? If you say no, that uncomfortable feeling is generated purposely in your body to move you magnetically toward the group behavior for safety-based motivations. So you have to sort of understand how this group dynamic works. And all of this is unconscious to you, like a cut healing. You're not in control. You can't speed it up. You can't slow it down. Female's menstrual cycle, your hair growing, your heart beating. If a splinter comes fast at your eye blinks before you even think about it. Your body kind of manufactures your behavior on that same wavelength outside your conscious awareness based on what repetitive cues it gets from the environment. That's the basis of mind control. I can control the cueing in the environment. You don't know what's going on. People who've studied the body knows this comes as standard equipment, that you will sort of mimic, copy, emulate, and adopt the most repetitive content as your own outside your conscious awareness in order to bond with the bigger herd, because the psychology of the human nervous system is humans like other humans that act, talk, and think like they do. And even with the cut healing, that's a safety system. With the heart beating, you're not involved. It's a safety system. It's there to keep you alive. You mimicking the repetitive content outside your conscious awareness is a safety system. And the people who are disguised as your altruistic government maintain their power through basically mind control alone. They control the repetitive content of your environment. Therefore, they control your perceptions, your behaviors, and your ideas.
It's funny. Just today, I saw a video with Schumer, the guy from New York, Chuck Schumer. And
Yes.
he was anti-tariff, whatever you think about that. But his whole reasoning was that most of the beer comes from Mexico and it's going to make our beer expensive. And he had like a Modelo beer he was holding up as his sales pitch. It's funny. It reminds me of that goofball from New York that during the COVID nonsense was pushing like fast food. Remember to get the vaccine, you got to eat a hamburger. Everybody's talked about that. But.
Yeah, and the French fry. And the thing is, as a mind control researcher, you have to understand that this stimulation of the digestive system, the subconscious, this part I'm talking about that's invisible, that does all these things outside your knowledge, it associates basically food with safety. And it's proven that if I can trigger your emotional safety mechanism, you're more prone to do what comes next. So the reason he was eating is a sort of a psychological coupling experiment where he's going to couple one emotional bonding of safety with another. So he's trying to make you feel super safe so that you take the shot. And the way he's doing that is he's psychologically stimulating another safety pathway. So hopefully you feel safe enough to take the shot. So, and also the colors red and blue. And this gentleman you're talking about was wearing, I think, a blue suit, potentially a red tie, if I remember correctly. It's also known to stimulate a form of tension that increases the compliant quotient inside whatever audience is watching. So it's not 100% compliance in any psychological experiment, but there is the base 30%. So there's a 30% base that you can make do whatever you want with any modality of mind control. Then you can start adding on top of the production colors, themes, other repetitive content, fear, reward and punishment systems, and every additional modality, you might gain an extra 3 to 4% compliance.
Well, there's so many things I want to talk about. I don't know which direction to go. One thing I wanted to bring up, this is kind of a side story kind of thing. I'm starting to think that there are a good percentage of people walking among us that are actual NPCs. Let me explain. Like, obviously you go in a video game, an NPC shows up, you want a sword, you want a bow and arrow, whatever. But when you're talking about the game of life, these could literally be people that, okay, you're raised a certain way. You're going to have a father that's weak, a mother who's overbearing. You're going to be very average looking, average intelligence. And you despise men because your father's such a weakling, blah, blah, blah. Then you discover the tranny thing. You become a middle school teacher. And now this is your way to be the big hero, is to get the kids into trannyism. That could be an NPC. And I should have looked into this study before I brought this up for this interview, but it just hit me. Apparently there was some study, you might know about it, where they found that there's a decent percentage of people, I don't remember what the number is, that actually have no internal dialogue. Have you ever heard of this?
I've never heard of that. And yeah, you might be right. If we were try to categorize a real NPC, they might not have an internal dialogue. Therefore, everything would be externally driven.
Right. Well, it's Roseanne Barr, right? She's the comedian.
Yes.
She said something I thought was brilliant, because I was just thinking about, are there NPCs? And then It's weird how God provides stuff to you when you need it. And this video came up, I guess it's kind of viral. And she says a lot of things in the video, but the one thing she said really hit me. She said that what makes an NPC is somebody who has a programming, and when they're confronted with truth that objects to what they believe in, they can't accept it. They can't change their mind, basically. It's impossible for them to change their mind when they're confronted with the truth.
Yeah, this is very common, but what a psychological researcher should point out is that your nervous system is actually designed not to seek truth. It's designed to find safety in the bigger group and with whatever they're believing at the time. If they were to change their mind and a bigger group had a different idea, the average nervous system will just flock to whatever the bigger group is believing because there's more safety in it.
So it's not the whole facts don't care about your feelings. It really is feelings don't care about your facts.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all based on emotion, right? Because emotion is a word that means, emotion. E stands for electricity. So what powers people, what motivates them, what drives them is sort of a form of electricity. And the electricity that most human neurology seeks is safety. It doesn't even care about truth. And you saw that in 2020 where no one cared about truth. They just wanted to do what the bigger group is doing. Now, of course, the people ruling us at the time, who are psychological manipulation experts, that's why they would say 30% have now complied, 40%. And then everybody's getting really nervous because the number's going up. So they didn't really have an idea if they were going to take it or not. They were watching how many other people took it already. And of course, if you're in the business of mind control and you know these modalities, you fake the numbers well before they get there. So when they said 54%, now crossing that 50% Rubicon is going to drive the neurology of most people, because now you got the majority. So everybody's people, and don't forget, I didn't take the shot, but
no.
And a lot of other people didn't take the shot, but that has to do with a form of strength. And that form of strength is usually natural in the human maturation process. So not only do these people know what I'm talking about, they also know that we can't manipulate strong people even if we throw everything we got at them. So before they attacked us in 2020, they invoked all these other modalities that weakens the population on many different levels that makes them more compliant to mind control. So everything that they did in 2020, they were really saying, that's why Justin Trudeau, when he gave a speech about the trucker convoy, he said small, fringe, minority. Those are 3 words in a row, not written by him, handcrafted by psychological nudge unit that was working in Canada. He doesn't write these speeches because they're written by psychological manipulation experts. Small, fringe, minority, you only need 2 repetitions of the same idea to really affect someone's impression of the situation at hand. So they purposely put 3, small, fringe, minority, and it was enough to make the average nervous system really delineate where the majority is, where that's the safe zone, and where the minority is, and that's the unsafe zone. And given the nervous system is a safety-seeking mechanism, truth didn't matter at that point. And everybody who doesn't understand how they're ruled by these modalities lined up and basically injected some sort of metal particulate in them that is going to be used to track and trace them and do all kinds of weird transmission and receiving based wireless communication in the future or even now.
You think that's coming for those people?
Absolutely. What was Inside the injection, of course, was not what was advertised. Everybody knows that now. But through my research, and I research over the full spectrum, is that there was, a very small nanoparticulate graphene oxide, most likely. It's 1,000 times more conductive thermally and electrically than copper. So this is floating in a lot of people's bloodstreams right now, and this means they can receive and transmit wireless communication. They can be heated up through microwave applications. There's a lot of weaponry and data mining that can be done on this group that lined up.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because I like to talk about what's coming at the end of the show, but so what do you see happening here in the next few years? Are they going to start killing a bunch of us or what?
I don't think they will be killing a lot of people at this moment, but I think the technology has that potential. Because when you're talking a compound like graphene that's 1,000 times more conductive than copper, heat-wise and electrical-wise, this basically easily can be weaponized. Because they already have the crowd disbursement microwave technology, which means microwaves will be thrown at you to the point where you feel extremely uncomfortable standing there and you just have to move. You don't even know why. Well, imagine receiving a different hertz level of microwave that has the basically formulation to heat up nanotechnology. It could be very, very dangerous. But this group, this is how they work. So the big advantage to people gaining this knowledge is please be aware that they play with group dynamics. What's the majority doing? What's the minority doing? They give rewards where they want people to go. They give punishments where they don't want you to go. Sometimes they do what's called shoot a hostage. So they'll take someone who's mouthy and, basically hind drawn, quarter them publicly so that no one else does the same thing. They have very different modalities of control. And to be honest with you, Drew, I can give a gift to all your listeners. I did a presentation I usually sell. I'll give it free to your listeners if they just want to email me at info@jchristoff.com. And I literally run down the top 10 mind control tactics of government and media used against the public during COVID. So if they want to email me, info@jchristoff.com. Christoff is Christ with an OFF on the end, and it's a single initial J.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. So taking a step back, so you somebody like you, what I found from 2020, what I learned the most, one of the biggest lessons I learned was that integrity is such a rare commodity. And I'm not here to pat each other on the back, but the fact is that we did have integrity during this thing, and we did have courage, and we did have a spine, and we did risk whatever we had to risk to stand in the truth. What do you think it is of people like this is what the show's about, Maverick and the Machine, people that have integrity, that have guts, that have courage, that live in clown world and have succeeded on their own terms. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, what do you think that is that we have that most people don't have? We're a very small minority of people.
It's actually, this is why they want to data mine us, because they don't really know. No research has been able to pinpoint the exact recipe for the non-compliant rebellion Maverick. But it is a form of strength. It's a form of adult-based strength. It's like a je ne sais quoi, they call it in French, which means I don't really know. But they know it's in the category of soul, spirit, and psychological mental resilience, a form of strength that allows the person to make a moral and ethical stand regardless of punishment threatened. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
And basically, everybody that complied as well were as intelligent as us. So it's not really having to do with intelligence, because the people who complied used their intelligence to find safety in the lie. So they didn't really use their intelligence properly, but they didn't have the strength to couple with their intelligence. So what that means is that intelligence without strength is useless. Strength is the factor. And the people, again, if you do the psychological research, they already know that it's just easier to mind control weak people. So and there's many levels, like say financial weakness. So this group have been planning this attack for decades, if not much longer. So they said, okay, let's make them as weak as possible. So this is why all the subpar interest rates were alive and well for 15 years prior to the attack rolling out in 2020, because they want you financially weak and like 2 paychecks away from complete disaster. Mm-hmm. So that took care of a lot of the financial weakness. There's a lot of hedonism. There's over-sexualization of the public where people can't keep their commitments to their spouse. And when you can mind control someone to break contracts with themselves, break commitments or contracts or promises with their loved ones, they become like spiritually weak. They can become emotionally weak, because it's also proven that for an child to mature and individuate to a full adult, an empowered adult, you need stress and you need pressure and you need failure and you need pain. So this group knows that as well. So that's why they started making these small changes. You can't fail the kids in school anymore. You can't have a relay race and go second, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, because that could cause pain for the people that are in fourth place, fifth place, sixth place. It could cause pain for the person to fail. And when I went to university, there's like safe areas in case you're upset. They don't want anybody facing their pain. And even with the drugging of the population, here's a coffee in the morning so you forget your pain. Caffeine's a painkiller. Alcohol's a painkiller. Cocaine's a painkiller. You might be a teacher going to the doctor at the school. If it's a big enough school, they might have a school nurse. And the teacher might be transitioning children, which is castrating them and sterilizing them. The teacher's teaching the kids liarrhea, no survival skills. So the teacher's soul gets depressed. So the teacher shows up, I'm depressed. And when you're depressed and in pain, not only do they have a drug that'll numb your nervous system so you never mature or individuate or change your life, I mean, basically, they're going to label your pain as a goblin. And not only sort of in that scenario, in all the scenarios, oh, you're not smiling today? Smile, Jason, smile. You're supposed to be happy. I'm like, no, I'm not happy in this society. Oh, hey, there's something wrong with you. You need a drug. Pain is a goblin. You got pain? Pain is a guardian. And in psychological research, if you expose someone to pain, they have a choice to mature and individuate into a stronger individual, or they can become a victim. And because we don't teach on this, and because we always frame pain as a goblin, people are afraid of the hard day's work. They're afraid of their depression. They're afraid of all their challenges. They won't even show up to work on time because getting up at 5:30 is painful. And they've done that on purpose, because you can manipulate children a lot easier with mind control modalities. It's harder to mind control a truly informed, empowered adult. So they really know how to make a 12-inch sub at Subway. They really know how to get the ingredients on thick, so you're drowning in all this inversion and you just or weakness. And then, of course, weak people do more what they're told. And that's the basis of all mind control. Mind control is a power differential between mind control expert and mind control victim. The weaker you are, the more I'll have my way with you.
Well, sexual degeneracy is a form of political control, to be sure.
Absolutely.
And it's like, for me, like, there's really nothing they could do besides kill me. There's nothing they can do. I would never submit to this. It's the opposite. It's like a brick wall. And it's funny you brought up intelligence, man. I lost a really good friend during the 2020. I'm sure you did too. Very smart guy. And he just spent all of his time with this like massive amounts of articles and all these crazy written things to like prove his lie, that he was lying to himself. It was so obvious, and that he spent all of his time and his energy trying to compensate himself for, not compensate himself, but make excuses for believing in all this bullshit, which was so blatantly, obviously bullshit. And I wonder if wisdom, to me, wisdom is so much more important than intelligence. Intelligence is important, but I've known some pretty, over the course of my life, I've known some pretty bad operating systems, intelligence wise. They were very wise people, elderly people that were not very smart, but very wise. I wonder if wisdom is maybe a result of intelligence plus strength.
Absolutely. And if you look at the word wisdom, if you study word magic, it starts with the phonetic whiz, which is the base word of wizard as well, a base phonetic sound of wizard. So it's the ability to cast your own spells, weave your own magic in your own life, and also recognize the difference between dark sorcery and white sorcery and what was going on. And sorcery is real, because that's basically what mind control is. If you not understood that everything that they warned about regarding sorcery and pharmakia and old scripture, that's what they were warning about, is what we call mind control today, because that's why they give you caffeine and chocolate before you go into the movies, because it's been proven that the more polluted you are, the more you will adopt the repetitive content as your own. So the movies are riddled with the repetitive content that they want you to mimic, copy, and emulate. And I'll give you some examples, but again, this is why they have the caffeinated Mountain Dew, the caffeinated chocolate, the caffeinated pop, the dark pops, caffeinated energy drinks, and they're all sold because in mind control research, the most effective way to sort of activate your subconscious to follow repetitive content is to caffeinate people.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I did listen to you talk about the caffeine and the hippocampus.
Yes.
But man, I tell you, for me, I started noticing alcohol. I think I'm not denying anything you say, but I do think alcohol might be even more abusive, just because when you're drinking alcohol, you're out of the game. At least with caffeine, you're kind of in the game. When you're boozed up, you're out of the game. They take you out.
You're absolutely right, Drew. And that's why they like caffeine more than they like alcohol.
Really?
Alcohol used to be their go-to psychoactive substance to make sure people are messy, disempowered, and weakened. But it also doesn't help build the control grid at the pace they desire. So this is why caffeine was always known as a very good psychoactive substance to help the slaves focus. This is why the UK royals, they discovered the caffeinated tea in 1610. And that's why they initiated tea time. So if you're working down at their plantations or their various outcroppings across the world, like the UK royals are mind control masters. That's how they went on to hijacked half the known world. Small island in the middle of the Atlantic started running half the known world. They did that through poisoning and mind control. So they would have the caffeine. You'd have tea time early, 8 o'clock, another tea time break with toxic wheat biscuits and toxic caffeine and toxic sugar from their other colonies, enough to take the brain offline and keep the slave, on track for the workday. And then during the Crusades, The Crusaders went into Arabia and found the coffee. And this was like in 1685. They came back and said, because they all know, but the Crusaders were also part of the ruling families, secret societies, Knights of Malta, Knights Hospitallers. This is where they get the logo from. The secret societies passes down these mind control modalities to other family members so that they can maintain control of the human farming operation. But they came back from Arabia and said, you got to see, we know the tea works pretty good, but check this stuff out. This will blow your head right off. It's called coffee. And they're like, wow, this is a much longer buzz, sort of a higher, steady buzz. We're getting more work out of the people. We're getting less rebellion. And don't forget, even to this day, I mean, if you want to know how dangerous caffeine is for your health-wise, you want to read Stephen Chernisky's book called Caffeine Blues. It causes so many different diseases. But also important to note that in 1987, there's a man called Howard Schultz. He worked at a small chain of coffee shops in Seattle called Starbucks. There were 6 in the franchise at that time. It was going bankrupt, and Howard Schultz was offered and said, would you like to buy us out in the bankruptcy, whoever was owed the money, and you can run them? And Howard knew it like the back of his hand. He said, absolutely. Ran to a friend and said, I need $2 million. We're going to make it. You can be my partner. I'll run it. Just give me the money. And this guy, the investor, said, Howard, I love it. I've looked over the books. This is a sound investment, but I do not need you. And so Howard went very upset for a couple of days before he landed on a basketball court. This is the story. I don't believe it whatsoever, but I do believe the ending, where he was complaining that he had lost the deal to an aggressive businessman who he thought was his friend and sort of screwed him out of the investment of a lifetime. And some guy says, hold on a second. I know someone who fixes problems like this. So he marched Howard into this very tall man. He was about 6'5". Howard Schultz told his story. And the tall man said, yeah, I don't like this story at all. And I know that investor. I've been here a while. That guy walked down, found the investor, went right through the secretary, opened the door, and that investor knew right away he was shitting his pants. And he that tall guy put his finger right in that guy's chest and says, this deal's off. I'm taking it. You know why? And he says, yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. And he went out. So who were these investors? That was William Gates Sr. and Bill Gates Jr. I don't believe this story. That's the one Howard Schultz tells.
But pointing the finger and the whole thing and being all heroic and you're screwing this kid over and I won't stand for it, all that bullshit. Yeah.
Right. So basically, why would you think the Gates family, given their history, given their eugenic, Planned Parenthood, vaccine culling history, have moved that from a 6 franchise operation to a 40,000 franchise operation? Because caffeine is their most prolific weapon. Now, as a mind control researcher, repetition wins the day. So if you want to know their most important weapon, what do you think you do when you watch movies? You look for the most repetitive content over 100 movies, and that's their most prolific weapon. And the most repetitive content, hands down, take out coffee cup, clay coffee mug, coffee machine, coffee pot, espresso, percolator machine, on the back counter, coffee shop. Hands down, most repetitive content. This is their drive. Coffee is how they maintain control of this population. Hippocampal neurogenesis we could speak about. It also puts the brainwave into alpha brainwave trance. It's a mind controller's psychoactive dream, caffeine.
I got to quit coffee. I need to quit coffee.
You're pretty awake without it. So again, Drew, it's not 100% effective on 100% of the people 100% of the time. It's about gaining the percentage quotient. You need to increase the compliance quotient. So coffee in the morning alone might get you to 40, 30% of the people are complying no matter what. Give them coffee, you might be at 40. Get them to start drinking wine at night, you might be at 44. Get them to watch something scary at Netflix, now we're at 48. Get them to be in financial stress, now we're at 52. So every extra you go bang, you just start climbing the compliance ladder with every additional method of mind control that you add on that particular person in that particular time.
And what you do is you get them jacked up on the coffee, then they drink booze to wear off the coffee high at night. It's like this vicious cycle.
Try to calm them down.
Right.
And none of the
guilty as charged, by the way. Guilty as charged. Yeah.
Well, we've all been there, Drew. Everybody listening. And the thing is, if you're ever quitting, it's not about perfection, right? It's about progress. I used to work with people and coach people with their mind control infections, and the guy was having 3 pots of coffee a day. I said cups, and he said, no, pots. I said, did you say pots? And he's like, yeah, pots. I'm like, really? Are you alive? Are you actually here? And we got him down to like 1 pot of coffee over 2 months. And it took him another 2 years to get to 1 cup of coffee. But what you have to understand is that the changes neurologically inside his metabolism, hormonally, they're always bettering each day. He's getting better each day. And that's the goal. Get better. Don't get perfect. Get better.
Well, what I've discovered and what I'm thankful for, even though it's horrible, is that when I do drink now, and I'm sober almost all the time now, but I still am not completely free. I don't know. Maybe you could tell me how long that's going to take, because I'm really sick of the urges. But I find that when I drink, it's not a hangover, a physical thing. I spiritually and emotionally get wrecked. Like I fall into a deep, dark, emotional hole. It's crazy. It's not anything like it used to be where I'm hungover and I'll feel good, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. It's like this almost demonic energy I get. It's so crazy. I don't know if it's just in my head or no,
it's not. So this is where most researchers stop. But I've done all kinds of dives into, because when you go back to this group, it's not Bill Gates, it's not Netanyahu, it's not Trump. These are old secret societies. Now they go back a lot older. It's not just the Vatican and Greece. It goes back to the ancient Middle East, Egypt, Babylon, Samaria. And this group too, with the slaves in the slave pit and the rock quarrying pit, they're the ones who invented the beer, the fermentation process, the wine. And they did it for a reason. It wasn't to make the slaves, it would make the work harder. Now, alcohol, people know this, it's common knowledge now, but alcohol is from the Arabic, and again, Middle Eastern, this is where this group comes from. Alcohol comes from the Arabic al-Ghul, which basically means, sort of the ghost god. Al meaning Allah or all or everything. Ghul is like ghost or ghoul. Alcohol is also called spirits. And it's also called booze, and you take the first 3 letters of booze, you get boo, which means ghost. It's a sort of, you said demonic, and it was known to do exactly that. It would make the person, whatever spirit or soul they had would leave. The good soul or spirit would leave when they drank the alcohol, and it would leave the body open for possession, because only one entity can come for a ride at any one given time. And because your own soul or spirit's disgusted with the house, it's too dirty to live in for a good soul. It's too nerve-wracking. It's too toxic. It's too poisonous. Your good soul jettisons out. And some kind of free rider comes in. It could be another good soul. Many times it's not, because only a demonic soul can sort of be attracted to the low vibration of alcohol. This is black magic. This is what they write down. Do I think it's true? I don't know, but it's exactly what you just described. It's exactly what I describe when I'm drunk. I'm at the bar at 1 o'clock. And then all of a sudden I'm really sexually aroused, or I want to get in a fight, or I want to fight my friends, or I want to have sex with everybody. I mean, is that me? No, it's not. I'm not a overly sexual guy. I'm not violent. So where is it coming from? Right. And then it's not too bright either. I'll just drive my car home. I'll drive my motorcycle home. And like, that's not me, because I don't want to die. I don't want to kill someone else. So what is that? This is important not to take as fact, but to think about. To think about that a lot of our answers regarding what's going on today, they lie in the past. They don't lie in the future. And when you hear the public panels today, Dr. So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so, all they're talking about is stuff that happened in the past 2 weeks. They're not talking about stuff that happened 5,000 years ago, because we're not given that pathway. Because if you could study where beer came from, why it was invented, what alcohol does to people, what caffeine does to people, what these secret societies plan for us, how they use mind control, and how poison is like the second pillar of mind control. Repetition is the first pillar. Poison is the second pillar. Like, if we understood what was going on here, it would be so much easier to figure out what's going on today.
Yeah, but that leads me to, like, who is behind the closed door? Are we talking about Satan? I mean, we're talking about demonic forces, and we're not. I don't think we're living in a world. Obviously, you know this, that what you're talking about would be a world where we're actually about human flourishing, and we're about success, and we're about God, and we're about all the things that are positive and good. We're not. We're in a world run by demonic energy and demonic forces. And so who is they? Is that Satan?
Well, basically, I've written about this cult before. It's this old death cult that uses death in many ways. Nothing scares humans more than death. And they figured that out. So they just don't like killing for the sake of killing in regards to sacrificing people. But this cult you can read about. It's the cult of Molech. So that's Molech. It's an old cult, a real cult. They honored this bull deity called Molech. And I'll send you a couple choice articles about that bull cult. And if you want to read your own book on it, there's a guy called, I know it's a weird name, so let's reserve judgment on the name. His name is Winky, like winking your eye, Winky. And his last name is Pratney, Pratney. Okay. Winky Pratney. And his book is Devil Take the Youngest. And you can learn about this ancient cult from the Middle East that likes having sex with kids, that likes burning kids alive in the metal effigy of a bull. This is why at the Bohemian Grove in California to this very day, they have an owl deity that they call Molech. Now, that's a symbol of the old bull. Now, symbol actually means similar to the bull. That's where the word phonetically comes from, similar to the bull. So they couldn't really have the old bull it's made of iron with a door in it that you heat up the iron bull and stick the baby inside to burn alive. Obviously, you can't have that at Bohemian Grove in California. So they needed something similar, had similar attributes. So they picked an owl, because an owl is similar to this god, because an owl hunts at night. It will take you out. You won't hear a thing. And it has almost a 360-degree turning radius of its head, similar to another symbol they like is the all-seeing eye, right? The surveillance. So this is the cult that goes all the way back to this cult. And they do believe in Satan. They do believe in inversion. To them, Satan is the planet Saturn. So when I say inversion, it means the sun is what gives life, and it's really bright, and you can see it during the day. So the inverse of it would be something very small, you can't really see, doesn't give any light, and you can only see it at night. So it's an inversion cult. So that's why Saturday, I mean, even our Saturday is actually Saturn Day. And what do most people, and it's the opposite of what we're supposed to do on Sunday. Saturday, people go out and still are hedonistic, eat too much, drink, smoke, party. This is the reason why Saturday is the day where we get wild and crazy, and we don't even know where our traditions and rituals come from. And again, if we were to investigate this particular secret society cult network, it's a death cult in every sense of the word, we would really be able to pinpoint where their traditions are parading straight down Main Street in our modern time.
So words, television programming. You've talked about 10 narratives about, more or less, that are like the main narratives that they push on television and films. What are those?
Well, basically, you can judge them for yourself. The first one we've already discussed. And of course, I understand that no one wants to hear it.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear that coffee is a weapon. It is. It's their most favorite weapon, because it induces all these brain neurological changes that upregulate mind control in more and more people the more caffeinated you are. Number two, it's alcohol. And to be honest with you, I'll just tell the truth, and eventually, like in 3 years, people will realize it. But the movies are never made to entertain you. They will be there to sell 1 to 3 of the different agendas.
Right.
That's the only reason they're made. So go watch something like Bad Boys with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. And I think there's 4 installments of it now. And basically, the only reason these movies exist is to push alcohol imagery and repetitive content. Mm-hmm. If you go to any of the Bad Boy installments and literally count every glass of wine, every champagne, every alcohol bottle, you're going to be in the thousands, up into the thousands, 2,000, 3,000 repetitions. It's been proven that you only need 2 repetitive images or patterns or themes or ideas to change and completely take over the behavior of someone that's in the environment. Only 2.
So where does Jones Plantation? We obviously are not part of that.
Absolutely not. That's why I love your film.
I'm calling it the vanguard film of the dissonant artist movement. I don't know if that'll ever go anywhere, but I'm trying to encourage more people to create, even though I'm doing a mock. That was one of the reasons, excuse me, the Illuminati got me. We wanted to make Barnum a mockumentary because I just think and they're great. There's a lot of great documentaries up. There's so many documentaries, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to create a mockumentary. I like Jones Plantation because it's a fiction film. I think that these are really powerful tools for, we'll call it good programming, for human flourishing, for the truth. I don't know where I was going with that, but
I think we need to talk about the Jones Plantation and why everybody I've pushed the Jones Plantation more than any other film to watch. And thank you for that, by the way. Thank you very much for that. You have been a real supporter. Yeah. And before I even knew you, right? I think you only know me simply because I was pushing it out so much, and I was probably coming up on the computer screen quite a bit. But anybody who's out there, if you want to understand, and when I write articles, if I was feeling lazy and didn't want to elaborate on how the system works, I would just put, please watch the Jones Plantation, right? Yeah. So whoever's out there listening right now, if you haven't watched the Jones Plantation, it will be the absolute best $10 you'll ever spend in your entire life. And it will explain to you everything that's going on. It doesn't matter what country you're from, but it will explain the actors on the stage, the actors on the TV screens, and it will give you a lot of insider knowledge about some of the internal ceremonies and traditions of the ruling group. That's also included in a minor way inside the film. And their disposition, their general disposition is really, really bang on and 100% inside the film, extremely accurate. So if anybody's out there and you just entertain yourself in the proper way, because it's also it's one of the most entertaining films I've seen. It's got ups and downs. It's got kind of a little gory scene, definitely somewhere in there that catches everybody completely off guard. But again, it's all about moving the proper messaging out. So again, if you're confused about how the world works, entertain yourself, spend $10, and it's literally a step-by-step of everything that's going on. It'll give you more information than you'll ever got in your life in the smallest amount of time, and really, really bring you up to speed on how the entire world operates.
Hey, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. Well, we're coming up on an hour. I don't know what your time is.
I can go to the bottom of the hour, Drew.
All right,
I mean,
cool.
I can go. That's where I can go. Then I have to go shopping at a grocery store. So.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I did want to go into you talked about alcohol in film and television and media. You talked about caffeine. What the particular narrative? So you talked about inversion, and that could be also, boys can be girls, girls can be boys. What's bad is good, what's good is bad. Fat is pretty, beautiful is ugly. The whole deal. What were you going to say?
Weak males is, say, number 3.
Weak males, yes.
So basically your Adam Sandler movies, your Will Ferrell movies, Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin. I mean, if you look at, and don't forget
the King of Queens, that guy.
Kevin James, or even Kevin Hart, right? You have to have your black equivalents as well from the black community. Kevin Hart for negative male role modeling. I mean, Kevin Hart's in pretty good shape, but he's not a strong leader. Either's Adam Sandler, either's Will Ferrell. So this is what the average person has to understand is repetitive content changes your behavior. And you don't know this. And even if you do know it, you can't really see it happening in real time. I'll give you a good example. In 2001, there was a movie called Gone in 60 Seconds with Angelina Jolie. That movie was about car theft. So there's a lot of repetitive car theft scenes there. It was your typical Hollywood script. Nicolas Cage's brother got into some problem with the local thug. The local thug was going to kill Nicolas Cage's brother. But then the thug remembered Nicolas Cage himself just got out of prison. He's the best car thief in the United States. So he said, I won't kill your brother. You got to steal 100 cars from me in 24 hours. They didn't film all 100 getting stolen, but they filmed like 20, 25. So when you're sitting there in the theater, this part of the brain I've already elaborated on is proven through the research, doesn't know the difference between real time, imagined thought, and what's on the screen. So when you're in the cinema, this protective, loving, properly functioning part of your brain thinks you're now in a car theft tribe. And to bond inside a car theft tribe, what do you think you got to do? Well, you got to steal cars. And when that movie came out in Burnaby, BC, Canada, car theft went up 70% in the first 4 days.
Wow.
Right.
What's another one is A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
When A Clockwork Orange came out, Stanley Kubrick, who apparently was a guy of integrity. I don't know, but it was the number one film in the world. But the violent crime had gone up so bad in England with people running around with those white outfits on, beating up old ladies and robbing people. He said, pull the movie or I'm never making another movie for you again.
Yeah, because humans mimic, copy, and emulate the most repetitive content in their environment. So the reason this group we're dealing with says what's on the screen at noon will be on the street at night. So whatever you want to do, and the more poison someone is, the more they will do whatever's on the screen. So this is why the poisoning is always ramping up wildly. So the reason I say that again is someone might say, well, it doesn't matter if I watch Adam Sandler or Kevin Spade or whoever these guys are. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does, because it's proven that you only need two repetitive images, repetitive themes to change your behavior, to make your subconscious believe that the bigger herd is over there. And its job is not only to find the bigger herd, but make you adopt its belief system and go over and hang out over there.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Can we watch it though? Since we know, like now I watch it, I see what they're doing, and I'm like, okay, I'll deal with the entertainment. Although I can't, it's really hard for me to watch these films anymore because I see what they're doing.
Well, I tell people I think you should watch them, because it'll be if you're aware of what's happening, you're in a different brainwave state. It's called beta brainwave state. If you're awake and kind of watching, like, and don't watch your actor, please, because all of their imagery is over in the sides, hanging on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so watch your movies, but the first thing you want to look for is coffee and alcohol. And then look for disempowered males and super strong females along with the disempowered males. Like, look for Thor in Avengers. I don't know what there was an Avengers edition where Thor, he got scared because he cut Thanos' arm off, and Thanos deserved it. Should have cut off his head, but I think he just cut off his arm. And then Thor has some trauma. I mean, yeah, okay. So then Thor ends up having a beer belly. He's drinking beer with his weird alien friends. He's playing video games. Understand that is not by chance. It's there to disempower the males, because this part of the brain doesn't know when one movie starts and one movie ends and another one begins. It just counts the contents and puts it in that column. And the more repetitive tracking that you get in this column, the more you're prone to adopt that behavior as your own. So even in the same movie, who kicked Thanos came back to life, but who beat up Thanos at the very end? Supergirl. And all the movies are like that. All of them. And even I watched yesterday, I watched a movie coming over from Europe to Mexico, and it was about, I think it was called The Trap. And it was with this old male hottie actor from the 90s called Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
Right. And he is a psychopath. He's a serial killer, a psychopathic serial killer. And he gets captured by who? An FBI agent, female, and a female rock star. So what you're going to see is this total disempowerment, disregard. The masculinization is in the sewer, and that's all on purpose. And at the same time, Supergirl, Wonder Woman. Now, there's reasons for this. And the reasons we're starting to see it right now, because we want the women, this group wants the women through mind control to believe they're stronger than men. And when you run into a average female today, you get this vibe that they actually believe they could karate chop you and kick you and beat you up, and they're more powerful than you and have a better say than you. This is a trap, because they want the decoupled female and the the demasculinized male, because neither of them are the target. First, you make the feminized male, which takes away the protection of the female. Then you make the female believe they're so strong they don't need their men. Now you have this ego-inflated single female living alone with her children. Who do you think the real targets are here?
Right.
The children. This group, as always, for thousands of years, love kids. They love to sacrifice kids. They love to have sex with kids. They like to molest kids and abuse kids. And who's easier to get out of the way as the last pawn in that chess game to get to the kid is the single, ego-driven female. You're gonna the cabal will just take their finger like this and just flick them into the nether sphere. And this is the trap. So all these agendas, super hyper masculinized females, feminized beta males, alcohol, and marijuana, drug use. And then the big other one today is assassins, government assassins, female assassins, male assassins, Mission Impossible, Hobbs and Shaw. Everybody's an assassin, because these will be the jobs in the future where governments are just going to be going around and lying to their citizens saying, well, the only job is an assassin. You're going to have to go around and kill this guy, and go get Jason, go get Drew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these things are prolific. And if you know how mind control works, you can tell exactly where the train is going. As David Icke says, once you know the destination, you can see the journey.
Well, we talk about this in Barnum World. There also, the shows are cop shows where it's the cops, they're really trying to get law and order and justice, and
sure,
they're working for you. And then you've got the legal shows where it's the system isn't perfect, but it's the best system there is, and the truth always comes out, but it's tough. And then you have the medical system, of course, these amazing nurses and doctors trying to save lives, and blah,
Grey's
blah, blah.
Anatomy, Doogie Howser, MD, MASH.
Yeah.
It goes back and it goes back and it goes back. They're always trying to put godlike attributes on the medical doctors, on the nurses, and the heroic firefighters, the heroic cops. The cops showed up in 2020 at my place of business and told me I was non-essential. And I said to them, in Canada, didn't you have to pledge an oath to the Canadian Charter of Rights, which gives me the freedom to provide for my family and open my business? No, it's all propaganda.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. If you're going to work for Darth Vader down at the Death Star, you're going to do what Darth Vader tells you to do.
That's right. That's all just
right.
It's like the Constitution. It's not even, toilet paper is more valuable because at least I can use it for something. It's useless. It's just there to entrap you into a tax-paying Jones plantation.
Yeah, it make you believe that you're free and that you're safe, when really all these countries are business franchises. They all have the same franchise manual for running a very profitable human farm, and there's one franchisor, just like any other franchisor situation. The bankers are the franchisor. The franchisees are the ones with the franchise manual, and they know how to extract the energy. It's black magic and sorcery. They know how to extract the energy and the life force of the human animals, and basically fire it up and channel it up to the top of the ruling pyramid, where they basically change the current to build their, with our electricity, change the current and build the planet they want to see, this really dark dystopia. I think people are getting wise to their game. And I tell people, look, if you want to do something, you have to understand, if you study from my perspective, their biggest weapon is poisoning you. But when I say that, what I really should say is they'll trick you to poison yourself. So, Drew, when you drink alcohol, they're actually mind controlling you to poison yourself. And it's very difficult to stop. That's because it's group dynamics. We don't, willpower means nothing in a group dynamic situation. So it's very important people maybe come and get on my email list, and I can teach them how this works and the solutions. I'm solution-based, how to reprogram, how to understand group dynamics, what it feels like to be a real black sheep. And if you're ever out there and someone says they're a black sheep, be very careful, because that person will usually drink coffee, watch Netflix, drink alcohol, masturbate. They will do everything everybody else is doing, but they'll call themselves a black sheep. Let me tell you, you're not a black sheep until you say no to all the poisons and work for yourself at the same time. Don't be like everybody else and call yourself a black sheep.
You brought up earlier the aversion to pain was part of their game plan. And I find that the more that I'm fading myself off this awful alcohol horse shit, that is really where the ticket is, because all I did when I was 12, I had a really kind of a real shitty household. And all I did was just push all that pain down and deal with it by numbing my brain. I remember, like, I got drunk at 6, it was blurry, but I remember 12, the first time I really drank, and was like, oh man, I feel really good right now. Like, I don't have all this self-loathing and anxiety. It went away. And I realized as a little boy, I've been just pushing that stuff down with alcohol all these years. And so when you want to get off that stuff, you have to go through the pain that you never dealt with before.
Absolutely. Something called one of my mentors, Paul Chek, from the Chek Institute in Vista, California. He'd call the pain teacher. And he told me lots of times, Jason, that pain teacher has been knocking on your door for 20 years. And you think the pain teacher is a goblin. So you open the door a crack and you say, hey, pain teacher, not today. I got some caffeine for you. I got some Coke for you. I'm not going to feel you. I'm not going to listen to you. And she's very patient, very polite. If you close the door on her, she'll say, thank you. Okay. I'll come back tomorrow. Hopefully we can have our chat. And so one day when I was in so much pain, I decided to let the pain in. So I opened the door and she goes, oh, it's been 20 years. It's nice to see you, Jason. I got some things that I have to tell you. They're not going to feel good. Maybe put a pot of tea on, uncaffeinated, because we're going to be a while. So you sit down and cross your legs and listen to all the lessons that that are so painful that, you could do better and you should feel guilty about this and shame about that, and you process it all and where it all came from. And I tell people it's like opening a blast furnace door, like in a huge steamliner, and just letting the flames consume you and burn you down to the ground, where you just fall on your knees and fall right on your face from there. It's like when you talk to the pain teacher, it's like a bus running you over, and then all you hear is beep, 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 and here comes the bus reversing to keep running you back over and over again. But at the end, in all psychological research, it's proven you need to feel pain to actually become an adult. So the most dangerous part of the painkiller society, where you think pain is a goblin and has to be avoided at all costs. You got to sedate yourself all the time or distract yourself, grab your phone, keep scrolling, have a coffee, have a joint, have an alcohol. Well, that person never becomes an adult. But again, it's all socially engineered because you can't rule adults. They don't want adults. Everything the whole urban landscape is a pain-killing mousetrap, because they don't want any real empowered, fully functional adults. So please, and then when the person's 40 and they've never matured or individuated, it's called the rite of passage in ancient cultures, where you actually mature and individuate a teenager to a fully functional adult. It never happens. So we have all these people today. I got like 55, or I'm 55, and no, I don't dye my hair or my beard, nothing like that. And I got friends coming in, driving Lincoln Navigators with big, big rims, with the side peak hat, the side brim hat, telling about the honeys they were hitting last night, full arm sleeve tattoo. And I'm like, how fucking old are you? Right? And I'm like, what's happened to you, man? Like, you're not an adult. You're like an infantilized. By driver's license alone, you're 56. But you're acting, talking, and thinking like a child. But again, anybody out there like that, you're not born like that. You're socially engineered to be like that. You're not born an alcoholic. Alcoholism isn't an addiction. It's a mind control program. You're addicted to coffee. It's not an addiction. It's a mind control program. You're addicted to food. You can't stop eating food. They got the better of you with the repetitive content about junk food. You're watching too much TV. The TV is a documented military weapon proven to put you in alpha brainwave state, which is hypnosis, which is trance. So you're looking at a trance box. You're going to be in hypnosis. And when you're in hypnosis and they're in control of the hypno show, your life's going to go in the shitter and you're going to blame yourself. Don't blame yourself. It's not you, it's them. Just get some education. You can pull your way out of this.
So when you say them, you're talking about, you mentioned the cult, but sort of the controllers, they create like a river, a stream of what they want to happen. And then human beings just pick it up and do it.
Yes.
For the most part, right? They just do it. They just do it for them.
Correct.
Yeah, because it seems like it's the right thing to do because they've been repetitively programmed to act a certain way and they don't even realize that they're doing it. And also what we found, what I learned, 2020 was a great teacher. How many people, their only way to glory or success in this world is to be a good little servant, a good little apparatchik for the ruling class, because it's easy to do what you're told. And so I can do what I'm told and I'll be a good boy and that'll make me something different and special because I can't achieve it in my life. So I'm just going to be a good little boy and do what I'm told. I'll be a good little servant. That was a very important element of what they were able to achieve at that time.
Absolutely. And of course, the repetitive programming of that programming, because humans aren't born to be compliant. They're not. It would have been in the school. So in the school, there's repetitive programming about, say, the world, the globe, the countries, the politicians, all this stuff, right? All this repetitive stuff. But the biggest, they call this insidious programming or background programming. It's like, it's there, but it's really hard to see, is that your worth is tied to how well you repeat information and comply. Mm-hmm. And you would have, again, you need 2 repetitions to change behavior. You probably had, in the rep range of near 500,000 where you were completely dominated psychologically to believe that your inner value is directly related to how well you comply and go along with the group.
Oh, I mean, I've talked about this where I was completely bought into this is the greatest freedom machine. America is I would want to fight you. Like, what? So freedom, we're freest country, greatest country in the world. How dare you? Like it was like crazy how I believed all the horse shit and with the cutting down the cherry tree and all this stuff. And this, they lionize these founding father guys to they're like it's a religious cult, really. I believed all that stuff for a long time. And then when I finally was opened up to it, it was like losing a girlfriend that I was in love with. It was painful. But
yeah, absolutely. We've all been there. So no shame, no guilt. We move on.
Right.
And, we know better, we do better. And, we start where we are, use what we have, do what we can. And anybody tomorrow, basically all you need to do is, stay connected to Drew, you don't have to be connected to me. I'm not trying to sell you on me.
Be connected to Jason. Get on Jason's website. Tell us where they can find you and everything one more time.
Well, they can get on my email list because I'm not allowed to really tell these truths on social, but I'm pretty sharp on social media too. That PSYOP has ended. It'll start back up eventually, but they're not censoring as heavily right now as they did in 2020. But email me at info@jchristoff.com, single initial J. Christoff is Christ with an OFF. So info@jchristoff.com. But it's a slow drip. It's a slow change. You don't have to do it overnight. Like you could go another 2 months and feel you're addicted to coffee, or see all the coffee shops, or watch some movies and you're like, oh, that guy's right. Look at all the coffee cups, look at all the coffee mugs on all the desks in this cop show, because they'll have coffee mugs with pens and scissors in it. Then they'll have like a coffee cup, like a takeout one, then a clay coffee mug, all on one desk. Those are 3 imprints, proven enough to change your behavior right there, proven enough to make you want a coffee. And then there'll be maybe 30 other coffee imprints, and that could just be your start. Don't quit alcohol, don't quit the coffee. At least investigate that they're putting it in the movies. Why don't you do that? Watch your movies. How much coffee? Are you seeing coffee machines? Are you seeing coffee mugs? And again, they could be holding it, but it could be on a desk, a dresser, side table when they get up. They're going to Starbucks, whatever it is. Just verify it for yourself and know they've actually tried to research any other way to change your behavior, because you can't count this. It come up snake eyes. The only way to mind control you is repetitive content and poisoning the shit out of you. The more poisoned you are, the more you'll adopt the repetitive content. So at least look for the repetitive content. Start figuring it out on your own. That's how they're controlling everybody.
All right. And then where are we? Last question. Where are we going to be in 10 years? Where's this going to go? Honestly, don't have to be positive.
I would say in 10 years, I know their goal is to have us all not eating. Yeah, but it's all weakness. It's all weakness, right? So they won't have you eating meat because you need meat, grass-fed, pasture-fed to have strong neurology. And you need strong mental resistance to push back on mind control and all the programs. They'll lock you away from the sun. They want to, put graphene in your water so you're electrically conductive to their Wi-Fi signals. They even might want to get away from the repetitive content and just beam the content right into your mind. But if more people sort of become reporters or creators, so if you want to destroy this death cult, and you should, because they always grabbing kids and hurting kids, so make that your motivation. That's my motivation. Become a creator like Drew. Create a movie, write an article, make a blog, do a walk and talk, ask questions. Don't make statements. You just say like Klaus Schwab is a Nazi. Don't make that statement. Just say, why is he doing this? Why is Trump doing that? Why is Justin Trudeau doing this? Doesn't make any sense. It's bad for the people. So why are all these nations doing the same thing and destroying their population? Ask questions, become a creator, become a reporter, become a documenter, and document what's going on, maybe in film or video, like a vlog, or even if you write it down. I've written 5,000 articles myself. Have a podcast, start interviewing people, have interesting conversations, and start just getting the information out there. It's the only way to win. Everybody's got to
elevate consciousness. That's the only
creators will destroy this group.
All right. And if, like I said, you follow Jason, get on his website, get on his email list. You make great videos that you could watch your videos and be entertained, and you'll learn how to do the videos in a way that will bring you in without, like you said, Klaus Schwab is a Nazi, stupid shit like that. Yeah, much more strategic and smart.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time.
This is a pleasure, Drew. I love your film. Can't wait for the new one.
All right, right on, brother. Thank you. Okay, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Tregsman with 2 G's and an S. We'll also have the links to our subscription and social media in the show notes, wherever you watched or listened to the episode. If you're currently supporting the show and Drew TV, thank you, and we'll see you next week.